gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for August 25th, 2022. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, Sony is raising the price of the PlayStation 5, but maybe not for you. First, however, join me in welcoming today's co-host to Game Mess Mornings. It's Jan Ochoa from Giant Bomb. Jan, how are you feeling?
Oh, man, that's upsetting to start the show. Oh,
there it is.
Can't even find it for some people. This is scarcity. This is what they're doing. They're
just economics. This is economics. So at work, market forces, the Fed. I'm just going to keep saying the words that I know about economics, and maybe something will make sense eventually.
CFOs are having the time of their lives.
Right, exactly. Big bonuses. It's all raining down for them.
The accountants are having the biggest pizza party right now.
Yep, earning the pizza party.
Yep.
We'll get into all that. But yeah, Jen, how you been doing this week?
I think I'm okay. I had an existential crisis last night that I thought,
Sure.
what if I just throw everything away? What if I just quit everything and I just go work at a small restaurant? And instead of doing that, I just bought a bottle of vinegar.
Well, I mean, that's, those are your two options in most cases.
Yeah.
I got Cleveland barbecue last night for the first time. This place called Mabel's. He was started by an Iron Chef, I guess. I don't know. That's not my world too much, but I'm like, okay, Iron Chef, I know those words. The barbecue sauce is very vinegar based, and I'm like, I love that. That's my jam. You could just give me some cider vinegar and then some spices and stuff, and I'll be good. And I got a pork belly sandwich with it. It was delicious.
Yum.
A good time. We ran into a Kind of Funny fan there. It was a good time. I'm like, hey,
gross.
Come be one of ours now. Yeah. So we've made the moves.
We should just carry shirts with us at all times. And when we see someone wearing a shirt of a different publication or outlet, we just throw ours at them and be like, hey, you're one of us now.
Yeah, just be like, yeah, come on. We'll attack them with markers and cross their shirt out. And then we're like, here's your replacement shirt. We see.
Yeah.
We take it away, but we also give it.
And then we give them like that like very solid dad type of hug.
That's right.
You
yes.
know?
Yeah. Just the fist to the back. Like that one right there.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right, before we get into this mess, let's talk about what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news, the catch-up, where we discuss the biggest topics consuming the lives of gamers everywhere, and maybe even bring some of our own original reporting. We got a few of those today. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. Hello, Twitch. We appreciate you showing up. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for tuning in as well.
Hey,
all right, we have a lot to get into, so let's get started with the morning mess with Sony is increasing the price of the PlayStation 5 in pretty much every territory except for the United States. This comes from the PlayStation blog where Jim Ryan himself writes, little Jimmy here writing.
Oh, Jim.
PS5 price to increase in select markets due to global economic environment, including high inflation rates. New recommended retail pricing coming to select markets in the EMEA, which is Europe, Middle East, and Asia, right? And APAC, which is Asian Pacific, and I can't remember.
Air conditioning.
Yes, air conditioning for repair, right? And then Latin America regions. Plus Canada. It's everywhere.
Wait, okay, what the abbreviation here is LATAM, and now I'm just thinking of like Los Angeles TAM, like when TAM goes Hollywood
TAM,
on us.
right, when he wears glasses in Los Angeles and he starts wearing like really, really pressed khakis. He's just going full LA boy. It's intense.
I'm sorry.
No, wait, the price is increasing on LA TAM as well.
Oh, yeah.
The global economic environment is a challenge that many of you around the world are no doubt experiencing. Oh, Jim, why are you so bad at this? We're seeing high global inflation rates as well as adverse currency trends impacting consumers and creating pressures on many industries. So we're charging you more. I just get, why are you bad at this? Based on these challenging economic conditions, SIE has made the difficult decision to increase the recommended retail price of PlayStation 5 in select markets across Europe, Middle East, Asia, Africa, Asia Pacific, and Latin America, as well as Canada. There will be no price increase in the United States. USA. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like we left the last generation with PS4 being increasingly favorable with like the general gaming audience.
Yeah.
And then there was like, I feel like the PS5 really blew up the zeitgeist, really blew up like, yo, you need to have this. Even though there's nothing for it right now, you need to have this. And especially amidst the pandemic. And I feel like Sony, I feel like if you're a big business like Sony, you like doing well and selling things.
Yes.
And having that goodwill. And I feel like it took them a while to get back into the good favor because the PS3 kind of ups and downs here. Does Jim Ryan just not know how to do business? Does he hate money?
Well, I think it's that he's like knows very well how to like make money and do business. I think anytime he then needs to communicate that with human beings is where he struggles a little bit. Now, listen, this is, most of this is we know you're going to buy this no matter what. We know that we've earned that cachet, and we're going to burn a little bit of that cachet right here to make a little bit more money because of everything he says is true. Absolutely. It's just so weird to be like, we know that you're paying a lot for gas prices and your paycheck isn't going as far in the grocery store. So like the form of entertainment that like if you're reading a PlayStation blog like that you care about the most, well, we also need to charge you more. And okay, and also we're the audience that is most important to us and that we always coddle and that has always had the lowest prices and that is also always the loudest and the whiniest at the same time in the United States. We're not going to charge them more, but everyone else pony up right now. Let's go over just some of the price increases. They're pretty significant. None of it is like, well, I guess it may be so equivalent. It kind of is. So let's just go. Okay, the PS5 with an Ultra HD Blu-ray disc drive in Europe is going up by 50 euros. So from 500 euros to 550 euros. That's true for the digital edition as well, going up 50 euros. That's pretty significant. But let's see, like the Japanese one is going up almost about like 10%. Yeah, I guess in a lot of these cases it's a 10% increase. Yeah, 5,000 yen increase for Japan. That's about $50 as well. Varies obviously. So the China's going up 400 won. Australia's going up 50 Australian dollars. So now it's $800 Australian. These are significant increases, and I think the first thing that some people who have been paying a lot of attention to this might say, didn't Sony say they started making money on the PlayStation 5? They said that, the cost of producing this thing went down, and now we are making profit on every PS5. That was their big thing. Like, so then why do they need to increase it? Well, that was never really functionally true. They still have to pay to ship it, and that's very expensive. They still have to pay to package it. That's very expensive. Warehouses are expensive, even though these things are definitely not staying in warehouses. But shipping containers go up and down in price. It's very expensive across the board, and all that stuff is very much bouncing up and down as gas prices fluctuate. So they obviously are looking at on the one side, it would be nice to have a bigger buffer between those variable prices. And then also on the other side, demand is still high enough for this system that raising the price is not going to change anything. They are still going to sell every single one that they produce, right?
Yeah, I hate to bring it to wrestling, but this reminds me of the WWE bragging that they've had the most profitable year and then immediately letting go of numerous employees due to budget cuts. And this just feels like it's in a similar vein that I just don't feel good about Sony also trying to play the card of we're not doing well. We need to adapt to the market, but we're doing really hot right now, y'all.
Yeah, and they are. When we look at their numbers at least for Sony PlayStation, they're really impressive. They continue to make huge amounts of profit and revenue, on both sides of those. Gross and net is very high, and then it's way higher than it should be for this point of a console generation, where you compare it to especially the PS3, but like the PS4, which is a very successful console, like it was not making profits like this at this point, and it's because Sony has so many things going for it in terms of online services and Fortnite taking money from like 30% of every Fortnite sale and things like that. But it's at the same time, PlayStation is Sony's bread and butter, and when Sony says, "Hey, we are going to have like a bad quarter overall," like, can anyone step up? Jim Ryan's probably like, "Yeah, PlayStation could always step up. We can make PlayStation's making a lot of money. We could always make even more money." Real quick in this blog post, he goes on to say, while this price increase is a necessity given the current global economic environment and its impact on SIE's business, our top priority continues to be improving the PS5 supply situation so that as many players as possible can experience everything that PS5 offers and what's still to come. Again, that speaks to the supply side just being like, that is the real issue. People, I think Sony could have launched this thing for $600 and it actually would not have changed much in terms of this, like the demand. It would have been just as high, at least relative to supply, right? Yeah.
Now, now I'm curious, in these other markets, does this drive those people to maybe seek out a different console entirely? Or at that point, do you wait for something like a Steam Deck to become more readily available in your territory? Because it's almost around the same price. And arguably, you might get more bang for your buck getting something like a Steam Deck or an Xbox because you have access to Game Pass on there. Jeff Grubb, there's an interesting insight in the Twitch chat that the reason why the price may have not been increased in the U.S. is because of the Inflation Act that Biden signed a few weeks ago.
I guess I'm not familiar with like what like provision inside that bill would have prevented it, but I mean, it almost certainly comes down to this is the move that makes them the most extra profit while minimizing the biggest backlash, right? Because you already see it online. People are like trying to criticize Sony for this, and a lot of fans based in the United States are like, I already got my PS5. Like I got mine, I'm good. And they're not raising the price on any of my buddies. If they would have raised it in the United States, this would be a huge backlash that would be unignorable for them. It's as is the way that they have presented it. It's going to be a pretty big backlash, but one that they could safely. I mean, it's just this is the reality of the situation. People in other countries. I'm not saying that you don't matter. I'm saying Sony thinks that they could push you around, and they have for years. All these companies have. They charge you more in Australia, way more than what is equivalent for the exchange rate. They charge you way more in Canada, way more than is what equivalent for the exchange rate. And it's because they can. And honestly, you guys are everyone else outside of the United States is almost subsidized in the United States. Now we have a lot of people with it's a pretty big economy. So there's a lot of people spending a lot of money, and maybe we make up for it in volume. But in terms of like making it make sense in those other countries for these companies, they're like, well, listen, if they really want to have the newest thing, it costs a little bit more to ship there. We're not thinking about it. It's kind of in the back of our mind. We're going to have to charge you more, and you're just going to have to accept it. That's the way it's been. And I think it is frustrating because Sony is not trying to say it's not really that way. You kind of almost want them to pretend like, no, we treat all our fans equally. But clearly they're like, no, that's the way it is. And we are going to leverage that to squeeze a little bit more money out of this. Jan, my question though is, they're doing this now. It's the end of August. We are going into the holidays. We know that God of War is coming, which is going to help sort of reset this conversation. People will probably forget this once a big game like that comes along. But do you think that they do this now at the end of August because in September they're going to announce a bunch of games that are going to be like, just drive the price increase out of people's brains?
Yeah, honestly, that I feel like that is definitely the tactic. Just get this out of the way so the smoke will clear for, Last of Us Part 1 remastered or remake, whatever they're calling it, God of War Ragnarok in the fall. But also, they talked about the new DualSense Edge controller at Gamescom, and then they finally released the price for the PSVR 2. So, or not a price, but a general date range.
Yes, the date range, right? That's right.
Yeah. For the PSVR 2. So, I think you're 100% spot on with that. That like, let's get this out of the way because we know folks will continue to buy it. At least in the US, a lot of folks already have it and will still continue to want it. So maybe the volume of customers in the US will compensate for that price, not having the price increase here. But like, yeah, like what do they have in their back pocket that they haven't completely announced? Is it more DLC? Are we finally going to get Bloodborne remastered? Has that been sitting in the back pocket this whole time, waiting for the holiday season or whatever?
Yeah, I think that it's September is the prime time for them to be like, come out, like, yeah, obviously you know about our big like Last of Us remake, whatever, dropping soon, and then you're worried about what's coming up next. Now you know about Spider-Man, you know about Wolverine, but here's what else we're doing, and here's some updates on those games. And it's like it's our basically Sony's standalone E3. That would be enough to sort of reset the clock on people kind of being upset. And these like people are gonna be like, no, I guess I have to have my PS5 if I haven't found one yet. It's like they say they're gonna increase the supply. I will pay the extra $50. I'm not gonna miss out on this. I wish I could have got one at the lower price, but oh well. I cannot miss these games. Now you touched on something there with the slip of the tongue, Jan. The price of the PSVR 2. And at one point, I was like, that's going to be like maybe $400 is probably what they'll go for. At this point, I feel like that thing's going to come out and be significantly more than... I think it's probably also going to be $500. I'm like struggling to imagine it being more expensive than the PS5 itself.
God, so it's going to be the hardest thing for folks to justify buying.
Yeah.
And I say
people in chat are
that...
saying 600. People in Twitch chat are saying 600. I saw someone say 800 for the PSVR 2. I mean, they're being a little bit hyperbolic, but still, like...
I mean, but that's going to have to be a device that is plugged into the console, right? That's not going to be like a wireless device that a lot of folks are maybe used to having from the holidays. And, depending on what other hardware you need or like the type of space, it just... Jeez, but right, the index was $1,000 when it came out, right?
Still,
so
I think it's still like at least 800 to 1,000. I think at least, and there's other newer ones that are, like when they come out for PC, they're in that range and they're 1,000, right? So, and Sony clearly feels like their audience will pay. And again, I think they regret not putting out the PS5 at $600. I don't think they want to make that same regret with the PSVR 2. It's just such a different thing because you're selling to a fraction of an audience instead of everyone globally. I don't know.
Folks are also saying, people there are people out there that would love a bundle.
Yeah, right. At that point, you bundle those things together. You kind of don't really discount the price too much. You kind of just that's maybe the way to do it.
Or just throw in a game, if anything.
Oh yeah,
right. Or like, hey, here's like a free 6 months to the PlayStation Plus services. That's probably PlayStation Plus Premium because the person buying the VR headset is someone that has money, so you probably want to appeal to the higher end. You say it's PS Plus Premium, and we promise we will be putting VR games into there on a semi-regular schedule. That works, and you have a backlog of VR games you can port to there from the PC, from PC and from PS4. And then stuff like Resident Evil 8 is getting tested right now. We'll talk about that in a little bit for PSVR 2. So, there's things that could easily make their way into a service like that while also trying to make the console and the VR headsets seem like they're still worth the money. Yeah, it's, first hearing 500 or 600 for the PSVR 2 is makes me almost want to throw up. But
it's expensive.
But the more I think about it, it's it does make more and more sense. I just hope that, I don't know, it is less cumbersome because that having to balance that breakout box and then the Move controllers, and thankfully you didn't have to use the camera for every single game. But I still maintain that the original PSVR helmet is one of the most comfortable VR helmets. But setting up that whole thing is quite the endeavor.
Yeah, I agree. They're going to simplify it, but even still, it's I kind of call it the last mile problem. It's you get this thing, you can the best technology in the world, you can make it very easy to set up, but still that last little couple feet of getting someone to move a table out of the way or to get a chair set up in front of their camera.
Right.
That stuff was always a huge hassle, and even plugging in a cable. Just enough to maybe convince me not to do it sometimes.
And then I just wonder how closed off the PSVR 2 world will be, because I feel like a a lot of folks that are into VR right now are also looking into like the social spaces, right? Something similar to VR chat or something close to that. I don't know if Sony's going to be willing to have a bunch of miscreants running around in like a social space, unless they bring back PlayStation Home, and then I'm back on board, baby.
Right. I mean, honestly, I think there's like a non-zero chance that PlayStation Home gets announced with PSVR 2 or something home equivalent. But I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they just call it Home again.
Oh my God. And then they call it Welcome Back Home.
It's very good.
Write the check, Jim.
Yep, get it over here, Jimbo, little Jimmy, make it happen. We'll move on to something else here in a second, but you also mentioned like, will this like convince people in those territories where the price is going up to maybe go to a Steam Deck or an Xbox? And you know, the research always shows that yes, price affects people's choices, and people like that were considering a road trip, and then the gas prices go up, they make other plans.
Oh, totally.
But it's like it is going to be a small percentage of people that are like more affected by this than others. And if you've already committed, like, you know, if all your friends are on PlayStation and that's just like, it's like an easy thing of like, I'm saving up to buy a PlayStation. I'm not saving up till I just go play games. No, I'm trying to get into this party with my friends. It's probably going to have a pretty low effect on you. But there are still people out there that will probably be like, the Xbox Series S is in front of me. It's available. I've heard no real complaints about it. And this game that I want is on it and works, and all these free-to-play games are on it and work, and I don't have to pay on an online fee to play them. It is like the argument continues to build to the point where it's like just a few more percentage points might move over and say, I will get an Xbox Series S while I wait for maybe a PS5 future, where it's like makes more sense for me to spend that much money on a PS5. But yeah, not going to be massive like droves going over. No one thinks it will. Like Microsoft never thinks that's what's going to happen. It's a long battle of attrition. All right. Ohni is a game that leaked on. I saw it on Gaming Leaks and Rumors on Reddit. A Discord user found this in EA's API, and people are like, "Hey, looks like a EA partner game made by Koei Tecmo. That's weird."
Oh,
it's real. I can confirm that, yes, Koei Tecmo is working with EA on a partner game. And where does your mind first go where we hear Koei Tecmo and EA? Like, do you think they're like, what do you think they're going to do?
That feels like you just got like chocolate in my peanut butter and everything.
It's like they're probably going to make a Muso, right? Like a Mass Effect Muso or something like that. Well, it's not any of that either. It's going to be a brand new IP. And that's all I know so far. I think that it's okay that that's all I know, because we're not going to have to wait long. I think we hear about this game next month. EA's partner games have been doing pretty well for them. They obviously had It Takes Two sell millions and millions of copies. Yeah. I think they're like looking to invest more and more. It's all that said, Koei Tecmo seems like a pretty strange partner for that program, right?
Yeah, I just pulled up Koei Tecmo America, like the game section, and I don't recognize like the first 3 releases here. Mm-hmm. Like none of these seem real. Like Wolong Fallen Dynasty, like is that a Muso?
That is like a character action. That might be like their take. They've shown that, I think, at an Xbox showcase, I think. And I think it was like kind of like a Sekiro-ish a little bit, but maybe more of a character action game than what a From game is like. But still, yeah, it's an interesting one. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff that they're making right now. And EA stepping in and be like, hey, we will help you publish a game. Like Koei Tecmo is a publisher. That's why it's kind of strange.
Yeah. Do you maybe it's a Ninja Gaiden? Oh, well, that's a Team Ninja joint.
Well,
and then Koei Tecmo.
And new IP, so it's like maybe something along those lines still, though. Yeah, and Koei Tecmo has like Team Ninja underneath them. I don't know. It would be interesting. Maybe it's like them combining these things in a way that would appeals more to a Western audience, and that's why they want to work with EA. Maybe EA is just like, hey, this is a new idea for us. We're taking a different approach to this, to the point where we would love to like partner with someone from Japan and make a new game happen and kind of build stuff up from the ground up. But again, we're going to hear about it in the next couple of weeks, so we'll know more.
Oh my God, it's gonna be the fall of Endor or something, and you're just gonna be Darth Vader slaying a bunch of Wookiees and Ewoks.
I mean, it's the dream. It's the dream.
That's the Muso dream.
The Muso dream. Oh my God, that's incredible. Need for Speed didn't show up at Gamescom, even though it is coming in November. Well, okay. It actually isn't coming in November anymore, everybody. So this is one I think that they've shown a bunch of times in their like slide of like, here's what's coming in Q3 and Q4, fiscal Q3, so Need for Speed. And I remember saying at the time, yeah, the plan is November. Well, they delayed it to December, 1 month, and they are going to take a few extra weeks before showing it off. The problem here is like hard to like pinpoint from my side of things. It seems to be that maybe Criterion just got sidetracked a little bit way back when it was working on Battlefield, and that like just had a ripple effect and caused this delay. But also everything's getting delayed, right? Jan, do you have like any sort of like candle burning for Need for Speed anymore?
No, and I feel like I've tried to light this candle year after year, thinking like, oh, maybe they'll just like incorporate more elements of Burnout, or maybe I'll actually like the racing in it, or maybe there'll be some fun twist. Aaron Paul was not enough to get me in that 1 year.
God, jeez, I forgot about that. Yeah.
And then I don't know. I feel like Need for Speed has never really done it for me. Like I would more rather take a Midnight Club sooner than I would a Need for Speed.
I mean, and even this team going back to Burnout again would be maybe more interesting for me at this point. That said, Jan, I think we are in a weird minority because apparently there's this huge audience that loves Need for Speed games. And I know this because every time I talk about it, I have like huge content creators like reach out to me like, my audience is dying to know more. Can you please tell me more and stuff like that? I'm like, guys, I don't know that much more. I talked about what I know, but it's like, it's pretty popular, which I guess explains why EA keeps making them almost every year.
Yeah, I got the feeling that we might have been in the minority here. Like, is Burnout not actually popular with the general gaming
Burnout might not
audience?
I don't think it's as popular as Need for Speed, which is like, it surprised me early on, but like, okay, I guess I'm just in my bubble where Burnout is the thing, and Need for Speed like had its time, but it had come and gone. And like it had come and gone specifically because EA was releasing a new one pretty much every year. We were getting a million different takes on it, and then they would wrap back around and do a Hot Pursuit, and then like 5 years later they do another Hot Pursuit. And I'm like, listen, I love Hot Pursuit, but also this is starting to feel like a churn where it's just coming out on a cadence that feels overwhelming. So it's easier for me to ignore. I guess most fans didn't feel that way though.
Does that like factor into the mentality similar to like a Madden or another sports game where like the serialized annual release means like it's bigger and better? Is that why they've fallen in that cadence?
Yeah, I bet there's something to that where like people like having a predictable game that they're into come out every year, and obviously Madden is like the best example of that for a very long time, and now obviously FIFA and 2K are in the same exact way. But yeah, obviously it would also apply to Call of Duty, and people just like, hey, when at this time of year I pick up one of these games and I play it for weeks at a time, and that's my game. And I'm looking forward to the new one of those. They like what they know. So I think that's a big part of it, yeah. And they did it so well for so long with like Need for Speed that apparently it really built up an audience for them. But we'll be hearing about this one not quite. I think maybe late September. I honestly don't know when we'll hear about it, but I've heard a few more weeks. So
may I ask you, Grubb, when you think of like racing game series as in terms of popularity, it's got to be like both Forzas, the different SKUs, your Gran Turismo, and then I guess for mainstream popularity, it is Need for Speed then, right?
Yeah, if we're not like if we're talking about like vehicles and not like Mario Kart or something like that, I think so. Yeah, probably.
Oh, I didn't even think about Mario Kart. Yeah, I would feel like that's a solid 4 right there.
Yeah, that's like the Mount Rushmore of racing games. Yes, absolutely. All right, so let's see. Need for Speed. Okay, yep. CEMU 2.0 is a Wii U emulator, and it's finally getting CEMU is getting its 2.0 update. The big news first. This comes from the blog post of the person responsible for CEMU. This update marks a new chapter for CEMU. Starting today, we will transition to an open source model for development. Our GitHub repository is already available, and anyone can contribute or study our code base, but more about this later. We now also offer Linux builds, albeit not in the most straightforward way. Right now, you still have to compile CEMU yourself for most distros. However, we are looking into adding app image or Flatpak releases for convenience. Beware that the Linux version of CEMU isn't fully fleshed out yet. It should generally work fine, but there are some remaining issues, most of them related to the UI. Two big things here. CEMU for the longest time was a closed source project, which was pretty strange for the emulator scene, where to work in a safe legal bubble, usually a lot of people just work in an open source way to show all their work. and then they share their work with the community, and anyone else making improvements can also share those with the community as well. But now they're embracing open source now, finally, after all this time. This is, the Wii U is also kind of being a little bit forgotten as most games come to the Switch. So this emulator isn't in huge demand, and he even went on to say, like, one of the other people working on the project has left. They're not contributing at all anymore. So making it open source also might help it like survive as we go into the future. And this emulator needs a little bit more work and maintenance just to keep running on new systems. So that's pretty cool. But also Linux. This means this thing's going to run natively on the Steam Deck, whereas before we were running it through a Wine and through Proton layers to make it compatible from the Windows version to the Linux version. That did work. It was fine. I was playing Wind Waker on there when I was first trying out the Steam Deck, but now hopefully this will just work. And with the community out there, I bet the Flatpak and app image versions are going to be out there in no time. Let's see. Studio Onoma could be Square Enix's new Western studio venture. This is from Andrew Marmo at VGC. Oh, guys, is Jan? Tell me if Jan's frozen. I'm going to keep going, and we're going to see if he comes back in. The Studio Onoma appears likely to be a new Western studio from Japanese Final Fantasy publisher Square Enix. The studio is subject of a pending application that appeared on the Canadian Trademarks Database last week. According to the application, Studio Onoma will primarily design, develop, and publish computer and video game software. It may also produce various goods, including strategy guides, toys, games, and playthings, namely action figures. I'm going to poke Jan real quick and see if he goes. Uh-oh, there we go. Something's happening. He's back, everybody.
The Nintendo cops came for me, Grubb.
They came for you. Like, you didn't. They're like, we know he's going to say some real shit about emulating Wii U. We got to stop him before he opens his mouth.
They were like, oh, this guy, he's going to look up a list of top Wii U games and think there's maybe nothing valuable to play on this.
Yeah, there's not, like, there's not a lot stuck on the Wii U anymore, right?
No.
There is, I mean, I was gonna save this, but let's just, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, so the HD versions of those are like, stuck on there, but no, not for much longer, everybody. We're gonna hear about that pretty soon. So, yeah.
I guess Mario Maker, the original one?
Original Mario Maker, yeah. But it's also like, I guess I don't know fully how CEMU works. Does that have access to the Nintendo Switch server so you can upload levels or play online levels or whatever? I don't know.
Right.
Xenoblade Chronicles X is what Chad is saying, right? That's the one that everyone wants that team to port, and that has not happened yet. So, and there's maybe a handful of other things that. But I mean, either way, it's still cool to just have like the Wii U versions of those games if you want, even the ones that have been ported. And that's like an easy way to play those games. If you, especially if you already own copies, which I definitely do, and you want to play them in a way that like looks improved compared to what the Wii U could do. Jan, we had moved on to the Studio Onoma story, which is Square Enix's new Western studio. The trademark applicant is listed as Square Enix Newco Limited, a recently established company based in London. It just feels like Square Enix continue to like reshuffle the deck on themselves. So, hey, we're getting rid of those Western studios, so we're opening up new Western studios, but they're going to work under this new label, and we're going to just try a whole new way of doing things. At this point with Square Enix, I'm kind of like, if it's not by the Final Fantasy 14 the Final Fantasy 14 team, or if it's not like a handful of other games that they've really nailed, some of the HD 2D stuff, I'm gonna kind of hold my excitement on it. Let alone it coming a whole new studio that's probably gonna take years and years to get anything out, right?
Oh yeah, and then I personally have felt like, all right, well, here's a new scapegoat for Square Enix to blame when something underperforms. Like,
right?
they're gonna completely blow past the reception to the Forspoken trailer and somehow blame this new Western studio. It's like they were the reason why Forspoken didn't do it.
They're like, Studio Noma is just a code name. Eventually, when it comes out, it's going to be Whipping Boy Studios. Here's our new Whipping Boy Studios, everybody. Steve Blackman is developing a Horizon Zero Dawn TV adaptation. The Umbrella Academy showrunner. Yeah. No, not the wrestler. Not the wrestler.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I get it. You're not the only one to make that connection. The Lethal Weapon? Yep. No. Does he use nunchucks?
He used Arnis canes. So they're like Filipino fighting sticks.
Well, hell yeah, that's incredible.
That's why I really like that guy more. He
Well,
also had kendo sticks sometimes.
Fair enough. The Umbrella Academy showrunner, Steve Blackman, is re-upping his 8-figure deal with Netflix. Under the multi-year pact, Blackman will write and produce new series and other projects for Netflix under his newly launched Irish Cowboy production banner. Yeah, 8 figures, huh? He is currently developing 2 sci-fi series, Horizon Zero Dawn, based on the PlayStation action-adventure game, and ISS drama Orbital. So it's going to be an international space station drama. Interesting. And then Netflix had been looking to put together a TV series based on Guerrilla Games' Horizon Zero Dawn, set in a post-apocalyptic United States, inhabited by robotic creatures, and following clever outcast hunter Aloy for the past few months. So yeah, we've heard about this show. I've definitely heard that like the Umbrella Academy team was involved in this. I think we talked about that before when we mentioned like what was going on with Horizon. But again, I've never understood how shows get made really, and like the way that the like one team of people might be working on it or not. So it just sounds like, hey, this is continuing to move forward. We'll probably hear about it soon. It still seems pretty far off though.
Yeah, I think weren't we talking that like it might be tied to the studio that's making the Lock and Key show?
Right. Yes. Yeah. Like the team, like the actual production people were like the Lock and Key people, and at the same time, I remember Umbrella Academy was coming up because I was like, that's going to end, and Lock and Key was also ending, so it's like these teams are going to team up or whatever. But either way,
right.
It was always going to happen like in that Netflix realm of like there's a lot of money at Netflix, and they're just sort of shifting their resources from here over to here, and Horizon is going to be the beneficiary of that, and that sounds like exactly what's happening here.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Microsoft Flight Simulators, Helicopters, and Gliders arrive on November 11th. This comes from Tom Warren at The Verge. Microsoft is adding Helicopters and Gliders to Microsoft Flight Simulator on November 11th, which is the 40th anniversary edition of the game, and this will be available for free to existing owners on Xbox Game or Xbox Game Pass members. It includes Helicopters and Gliders for the first time since 2006. I'm like, I just wanted to put this in here because I think Helicopters in Flight Sim sounds like a very fun time.
It sounds absolutely terrifying.
Right. I think it's gonna open new pathways for streamers to dox themselves on stream. When they're like, I'm gonna go hover over my house for too long. I'm like, oh no, now you know where I live. So don't do that, everybody.
Don't do that.
Yeah, but it's like still, I want to go flying over. Like they've made so many improvements to all these different countries. Like I want to go fly over London, or I want to go fly over Disney World, or whatever, and get like the new upgraded versions of that stuff. And in a plane, it's like slowly gliding over stuff is nice. But to be able to like, actually hover in place over things could be even better.
We should just do a bombcast in Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Yes, absolutely. We can. One of us is the pilot, and everyone else is just a passenger on the plane.
Yeah,
exactly. That's very good. Resident Evil Village for PlayStation VR 2 is going to be playable at the Tokyo Game Show. This comes from Sal Romano at Jamatsu. The PlayStation VR 2 version of Resident Evil Village will be playable at Tokyo Game Show 2022, which will run from September 15th through the 18th, Capcom announced. Users will be able to play a segment of Castle Dimitrescu and experience ultimate immersion as they jump into the world of Resident Evil Village in virtual reality. Users who play the demo will also walk away with Resident Evil Village and Resident Evil 4 clear file set while supplies last. So you get some swag. There you go.
There you go.
This is the first time that a PSVR 2 game will be playable in the public. That's maybe why this is most notable. They are obviously ramping up. Like you said earlier, they've announced a general release time frame of early next year. So they were going to have to start doing this sort of thing. Resident Evil Village makes a lot of sense. Resident Evil 7 was always a standout game for that first PSVR. So Village getting that same work makes sense, right?
Absolutely terrifying in VR. And I generally don't get spooked too much in video games. I say that as someone that gets spooked over Silent Hill. But that was like absolutely nightmare inducing to play Resident Evil 7 in VR.
Yeah, I would not be able to handle that for sure. Now, maybe Lady Dimitrescu standing 8 feet over me, and I'd be like, well, that's scary in a different way, right? Yeah,
yes, that's how they get people to get PSVR 2.
Yes, there it is. That's like, hey, this is $800. I was like, what? And here's VR Lady Dimitrescu. All right, take my money. It's
You're gonna see so many people failing that portion of the demo on purpose.
Yeah, choke me, giant mommy. Yeah. All right. Elden Ring publisher is working to secure IP and partnerships amid M&A spree. It's mergers and acquisitions. This comes from Tom Ivan at VGC. Elden Ring publisher Bandai Namco has discussed its efforts to secure IP and partnerships with developers and amid the recent spate of M&As in the games industry. In an interview with GamesIndustry.biz, Bandai Namco Europe COO Arnaud Moller said the company has been working hard behind the scenes to insulate itself from the impact of industry consolidation, but that smaller publishers are having a harder time doing so. And this is a quote, "What I find is that we have to secure the IPs that we create with the studios we partner with," he said. "When we invest in IP creation, when we invest in marketing for these IPs, we also have to keep in mind that we have to get some sort of security towards the future of the studio that develops this IP, especially if the IP doesn't belong to us." Basically, it sounds like them saying IP is what's valuable. These studios are one thing, but when big acquisitions happen, to make sure that we are as valuable as possible, we need to be the holders of these IPs. So they're working towards that. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense, but it's also the kind of thing where developers have definitely been moving in the direction of, we want to control our IPs. We don't want to give things over to publishers. So this is going to be kind of a tension. And in order to make this happen, Bandai Namco is probably going to have to pony up extra cash when they do make these deals to make sure that it's worth the developer's time if they're giving up some control of their IP, right?
Totally. I mean, like, do you think they anticipated Elden Ring doing gangbusters?
Not like this. I don't think they anticipated it doing numbers like this. I mean, once they probably saw the pre-orders coming in on like Steam, they're like, "What is happening here?" But by then it was too late for them to like go and like change the way that stuff was going to work. And maybe, I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't know how the IP breakdown works for that. I assume that From probably owns it though, based on the way that they're talking here. Like, man, we should probably have gotten some of that Elden Ring IP, shouldn't we, to secure our future. They say that we work on a number of measures to secure those partnerships. You're talking first option rights, you're talking IP ownership, you're talking minority stakes in those studios, Mueller said. So there are always ways to secure relationships. So they're like looking at every option there. Makes some sense.
Do you think this might be part of the reason why it's been a while since we've even heard or learned anything about possible Elden Ring DLC? I
don't think so. I mean, it's possible, but it's like, I think that they probably have a pretty good relationship because they made so much money, right? Like everyone is flush with cash. Bandai Namco like raised what they were paying their employees. From Software did the same thing. It's just like kind of across the board. Like, listen, there's enough money to go around for this. I bet it creates some tension in the next time they have conversations about what the next contract looks like, for sure. Because From's like, we are worth a lot, and you know, Bandai Namco's gonna be like, well, yeah, you're worth a lot, and we need a way to like make sure that we're worth a lot alongside you. We helped you publish this game, which I don't know how much that's gonna work for them in those conversations, but yeah. Everywhere Studio, which is a difficult thing. The game is called Everywhere. Everywhere from Leslie Benzies. The studio, Build a Rocket Boy, which is the name of the studio, is not dismissing new tech like blockchain. The studio behind the new open world game from former Grand Theft Auto producer Leslie Benzies has dismissed speculation that the project could be a blockchain title. Following Everywhere's rather mysterious reveal, which left players with more questions than answers, eagle-eyed fans noticed that the studio is currently hiring for several blockchain-based positions. These include a senior back-end programmer, smart contract developer, and a test engineer. This in turn led to speculation that the game could support NFTs or cryptocurrencies. In a Reddit post addressing the speculation, Build a Rocket Boy said Everywhere is being built on Unreal Engine 5, not the blockchain. What does that mean? Everywhere is being built on Unreal Engine 5 and not the blockchain, and that the company isn't dismissing such technology. Well, no shit, you're not making the video game itself in blockchain. What are you saying? This is okay.
Is this Jim Ryan's alt? Is he
Jim
trying
Ryan's
to explain game development?
Yeah, listen, kids, we're not making this in blockchain. This is an Unreal game. I'm just going to read this quote. We'll see if there's any illumination in here. We're seeing some conversation on NFTs and cryptos that are prompted by some of our open positions on our website, a studio representative said. These are research positions, as we do not like dismissing new technologies only because others haven't found a solution for them yet. We are building Everywhere on Unreal Engine 5, not the blockchain. We are currently a new world for players where we come together to play, watch, create, share, and so much more. We hope this helps clarify some of the speculations around this topic. It does not. No. It just does not.
No.
but like, research positions, companies love to spend money on things that they're not going to actually try to do something with. That's not how that works either. I mean, maybe they will research it and decide they're not going to do anything. A lot of companies have made that decision after looking into blockchain stuff, but at this point, you can kind of like just ask your buddies at other studios, right? Hey, what do you think of this blockchain stuff? Hey, we looked into it, and that's some horse shit. Maybe you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. Instead of hiring for full-on positions, I don't know, maybe make a meeting with a firm, perhaps.
Yeah, that's just the kind of thing like you could consult with. Like, there's a lot of people out in this space that you could talk to and be like, give me the pitch. But when you're hiring on to your company, it seems like it's gone beyond that. And also, again, unreal.
Yeah, to give, like, that's why there is a whole industry of consultants.
Yes.
Right? Like, when
and there's a lot of those, Yeah,
when you need help with something that you are not as familiar with, that you want to explore with your company, instead of hiring and making a whole new division that you're not even sure if it's going to happen, that's why you reach out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like research in spaces like this, when you're starting a new company, the kinds of things that you don't like invest in research. You invest in research once you are firmly established and it's down the line. If you're trying to get your first game out the door, I don't really believe you are doing much like research for things that you might adopt down the line. It's just not. That's not the case. This is something they are, I think, probably considering. They probably actually won't end up doing it just because blockchain has crashed in so many ways. But I think they're at least considering it still.
Like, do you think they have an IT department before? Which came first, like HR, IT, or the blockchain?
I bet they have an IT department, but I bet it's like, as soon as they got that set up, like, okay, and now how can we make the most money possible? And someone said blockchain, and that was like next on the list. Everywhere is. They showed that game at Gamescom opening night live. It's apparently coming. But the shots they showed like a cartoon world that looked like Fortnite with open world driving and shooting. And then the second half of the trailer was a very realistic man just standing in some dark lighting or whatever. And I'm like, wait, these are two different games. What is happening here? So a lot of questions still about what Everywhere even is.
Oh, boy.
Last news story, Microsoft's pursuit of Activision was all about mobile and PC, Phil Spencer says. This comes from Eddie McCoo at GameSpot. Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer has commented further on its proposed deal to buy Activision Blizzard, saying the company sought to purchase the giant to help flesh out its mobile business. Speaking to Bloomberg, Spencer said the biggest gaming platform on the planet is mobile phones, adding that 1.5 billion people play games on mobile devices. The executive went on to say that Microsoft, regretfully, doesn't have much of a presence on mobile in terms of gaming. We don't have a lot of creative capability that has built a hit mobile game. We really started the discussions internally, at least, on Activision Blizzard on the capability they had on mobile, and then PC with Blizzard, he said. Those were the two things that were really driving our interest. If Microsoft's bid to buy Activision Blizzard goes through, Microsoft would take ownership of Activision Blizzard's franchises, including King's division, which runs Candy Crush, one of the most persistently profitable games in the history of the world. This is like, I think, this makes sense once you look at what's on paper here, and you look at what Microsoft needs. Like, it's like Rocky and Adrian. They have gaps, and they fill their gaps. Where Microsoft's big gap is definitely on mobile. And I think if Microsoft looked at Microsoft looked at Activision, and if they looked at Blizzard and looked at King, and they could only have one of the three, they would pick King almost certainly, right?
Yeah. I like Call of Duty is definitely appealing, but then thinking about how folks are still on Candy Crush in the year 2022. Like, didn't Alex Boniello mention that his fiance was like on level 6,000 or something of Candy Crush?
Yes, 6,000 out of 12,000 levels, but yes, level 6,000.
Oh my God. Oh, thankfully she also has not paid anything, but
right.
I can only imagine the insurmountable number of people that have paid for Candy Crush upgrades.
And they have. Yep. I mean, that game was making like $1 billion a year for year after year after year. Yep, it's massive.
I'm curious, Grubb, do you know how big is the Candy Crush team?
Oh, I bet it's not. No, those mobile teams are never massive. It's like one of the weird things. It's like, it grows bigger over time, but it's like they grow in terms of like, and you're gonna go get into our merchandising department, and you're gonna like be in our partnerships department. It's like the team working on the game is probably like 60, 70 people at this point. I don't know, maybe it's more than that, but it's like it wouldn't need to be. It's a small mobile game, and that's one of the benefits of making mobile games is they're small and affordable to produce. and then the ceiling for how much money they can make is just it's past Pluto. It's astronomical. All right, let's get to the catch-up. We got some AEW Fight Forever gameplay. I want to bring this up here. Let's go over to the news assets. It's a Kenny Omega versus Adam Cole fight. There we go. And I think it's looking okay, I think. It definitely looks distinct from the WWE games of late. And I'm trying to, like, place it... Did you play a lot of the N64 wrestling games? That's what they're going for. That's what they said they're going for. That is the goal. Does this remind you of any of those?
This actually kind of reminds me of the first Def Jam game.
Yeah, that's a good
Vendetta.
Pull.
Yeah. I didn't play No Mercy as much, so I don't have the same reverence. But I really do like the Def Jam games, and this kind of. Not immediately looked like it, but kind of reminded me of it, and just how arcadey.
Yeah,
I want to say it looks.
It definitely has an arcade vibe as opposed to the simulation vibe that WWE has been going for years, right?
Yeah. It doesn't look like it's trying to be like a sim or anything, which I think is good.
Yeah, I'm like, this is just the two wrestlers fighting. The ref is in, like, is that Aubrey? And so it's great. It's good. I think this is going to be a starting point for them, though, and it's probably going to come out and be content light and feature light. Really, though, if they can get this wrestling down and make it fun and arcadey and easy to pick up and play, that's a big part of the battle won for them. So yeah, so far it's looking more promising than I thought it might. From, like, hearing about, like, I remember I think Kenny Omega's talked a little bit about how he's seen it, and he's been, like, really frustrated with the progress or whatever, because he's a big gamer and wants things to be exactly what he wants. But I don't know. It looks like it's starting to come together. This game, did we get a date for this? I can't remember. I think it's like November.
I believe it's by the end of this year.
Yeah,
I don't remember a specific date. But honestly, I don't really care so much as to how it looks. It just has to play well.
Exactly.
And sometimes I welcome jank in wrestling games. Sometimes it can be fun, right? Yes.
I mean, it's you want in video games, the anything can happen sort of mantra of, like, watching a wrestling show. It does sometimes come down to that jank enabling anything to happen with the character models or whatever. And so, like, it almost feels like part of wrestling in a way. So yeah, I definitely agree with it. Let's see. GoldenEye 007 released 25 years ago for the Nintendo 64. We are at the 25th anniversary for that. That's that's messed up. That is
Wait.
I remember the nights playing that game with friends, and it's just like, man, that was 25 years ago now. I'm very old.
Was I 6 when that came out?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you probably were, yeah.
What?
Yeah, let me think. It's 25. How old am I? I'm 39. So yeah, 14, 15. I definitely didn't have my license. I still live in Michigan. Yeah.
Oh, man. Boy. Yeah, 31
6 years old. Jesus.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Yeah, do the math. It's absolutely 25 years ago. The other thing here, that's a big anniversary, the kind of anniversary you might want to see a re-release of that game for. That has not been announced. Didn't get announced at Gamescom, even though it felt like it really could have. Here we are, though. It's still not been announced. It really feels like this thing is still just sitting on the shelf with both companies' trigger shot. I mean, we know it exists. We've seen the achievements and people playing the game on Xbox. Like, it's there. It's, like, ready to go. But even before that, the game was finished for, like, Xbox 360 all those years ago. So it's ready to go, but it's just Nintendo and Microsoft being hesitant about whatever most likely it continues to be the war in Ukraine and the Russian imagery in the game. Real quick, Link to the Past has been decompiled. It's the latest game where community developers go into the code and they decompile it so they can basically port it now to any other platform. This happened with Mario 64 and I think Jack and Daxter. And so you can just play a native version of these games on PC. This enables developers to do all kinds of stuff, like with mods and things like that. But also just it makes it run nice and it kind of fit to your PC a little bit better. So you can just make it widescreen and stuff like that. Obviously, Link to the Past not working great with widescreen, but they've decompiled it, and this is going to open up developers to do even more with the game on PC, and it's going to help with preservation, obviously, as well. And then finally, Nvidia revealed that it's going to announce its next GPU architecture in September. Jensen Wang revealed that his keynote at GTC on September 20th will include news on new advances of RTX reinventing 3D graphics and gaming. This likely means the 4000 series, although he hasn't announced new cards like this at GTC in the past. He usually does stuff like data center products and things like that. But it does seem like maybe the 4000 series is imminent. Jan, where are you at with like getting a new GPU?
Well, I mean, the Nintendo cops didn't really come for me. One of my two computers is actively dying.
Yep.
I have a feeling I actually know what the problem is. It might be a PSU issue, and it also might be a cooling issue as well. But man, I've been on the fence and waiting to see what I need to upgrade to. So do I hold off more or longer and perhaps wait for the 4000 series, or I mean the 3000 series has to be built to last, right? Like,
oh yeah, you get a 3000, it's gonna last. The 4000 is probably gonna be actually a pretty significant upgrade though. It's been 2 years, right? And the 2000 and 3000 series both were like Nvidia figuring things out with like splitting the difference between traditional rasterized graphics, which is what basically all games were running on before RTX, and RTX. And 2080 was like a big upgrade for RTX stuff, but it wasn't like much of an improvement for rasterization. And then the 3080 sort of made up for that, and it was a pretty big improvement for rasterization, but not massive. It feels like the 4000 should be this huge improvement across the board for everything. Jan, for you, I would probably just like start building something now, and then once the 4000 is here, just plug that right in and get ready to go. I'm looking forward to it. We'll keep talking about. I like GPUs and CPUs, so we'll keep talking about these things as they get announced for everybody.
I honestly hate how excited I get, because I did not come from a PC world for a very long time, and then like getting acclimated to everything, because after I stopped being a pretentious college video kid, and I'm like, I'm only going to edit on a MacBook. And I realized like, everything can be 20 times faster on a PC with actual better hardware that I can choose. What? It's absolutely mind blowing. And then, now I'm thinking, because I got a 2080 in this PC, I could just rip that out and start building for everything else. Yeah, fellow video folks out there, I'm willing to take your recommendations as whether or not I should just do exactly that, start building a new machine, maybe grab like a 3080 if that goes on a discount after a 4000 gets announced, or just go for the 4000.
Yep. We'll cover it, and I'll get Nvidia to send us something. You can cover it. You could be our main boy. Yeah, let's do that. Because we can talk about that, and we can make a stream where we play some games on it, do some video stuff on it. People would love that. I think that'd be good. So,
an acquaintance of mine was just trying to encode 8K footage.
Oh my god, yeah.
And that poor boy, that took 5 years.
Yeah, even with like every sort of trick to make it speed up, it's still going to take forever. Absolutely. All right, let's see here. I got the poll from yesterday. Which game from Gamescom, Ohni, looked the best to you? We chose these 4 games: Lies of P, Dead Island 2, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and Moonbreaker. I know a lot of people didn't get their favorites included here. It only lets me select 4, and you yelling at me is just engagement, and it ain't that serious anyhow. Lies of P, easily the winner here, 69.3%. There was a showcase. There was a sit down with the developers, deep dive sort of thing. Microsoft's version of the Treehouse Live earlier today, and they were talking more about Lies of P. And I'm like, okay, I get what people are seeing in this game. It does just look like a new Bloodborne with Pinocchio vibes, which continues to be again. That's my own hang up. I just imagine like the worst Pinocchio like adaptations ever in my brain. This seems pretty cool though. Where are you at with Lies of P, Jan?
Yeah, I peeped that trailer, and I feel like they're really trying to evoke Bloodborne vibes because they have that shot of the bridge, and I feel like for a lot of people, like the bridge fight with, I think it's is it the cleric beast? No, not the cleric beast. One of the first bosses is like iconic in Bloodborne. So they're definitely going for that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they made Pinocchio too pretty. He looks like Timothy Chalamet.
Yep, Timothy Chalamet been Pinocchio all along. We should have known. But also, like, I like that they're the weird mannequin toy vibes that they're pulling for all the enemies also feels very From. It's like the kind of thing From would do. Not exact. I mean, obviously not exactly. And I bet like Tam would tell me all the ways that was not accurate. But for me, I'm like looking. I'm like, yeah, this looks like creepy in a way that like Miyazaki would pull ideas out of the back of his brain. Other games on this list: Dead Island 2 had 17.8%, Killer Clowns from Outer Space 6.4%, and Moonbreaker 6.5%. The kids don't know about Killer Clowns, Jan. Apparently, no one knows about Killer Clowns. That's fine.
Yeah. As like a former kid, I have no idea what Killer Clowns is.
Yeah, maybe we can get that on Prime Video and do a movie night of that. That would be
lovely.
All right, let's do this next poll. We talked about it earlier. Let's see if any of you actually still believe. Do you still believe that Twilight Princess / Wind Waker HD are coming to Nintendo Switch? And
man.
Yes. No. Let's just do. I never believe. All right, there we go. And then we'll talk about that one tomorrow.
Oh, I don't know.
People are like, I could tell people are just like guarding their hearts. They don't want to believe. They don't want to believe.
I don't know.
It's coming. It's coming. This is it. I mean, this thing's been ready for a long time. It's been on the shelf, and now the last thing we've heard is like, yeah, turns out they're going to probably talk about this again here soon. So we'll talk about it for the first time for them. Jesus. All right, Jan, what do we have happening on Giant Bomb for the rest of this week?
Well, for the rest of this week, got another episode of Game Mess Mornings tomorrow. But today, Jeff Grubb, we are going to be playing some Fortnite right after this. So please stay tuned if you're watching live. If you're watching the archive, go watch the archive of the Fortnite stream. And then later today, we'll have Voicemail Dump Truck. Tomorrow, we have a special edition of UPF where you, me, Dan, and Jessica will be playing Super Mario 3D World.
That's right. Online.
Yeah.
We'll see how that holds up.
Oh, also, I played the Angry Stick game yesterday in Arcade Pit. It's one of the best games of all time.
Yeah, it's so good, right?
It's so good.
I love it. Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, it's just like it lodges into my brain. My brain's like, yes, you have to completely focus on this thing, and it feels so good.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's the rotating. It's a roundabout. If anyone's wondering what we're talking about, it's basically roundabout. All right, everybody. Well, we'll have more Giant Bomb all this week. Keep tuning in. Jan, thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Thank you, sir, for having me.
Everybody, thank you for watching. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.